This is my grandma's house. Built in 1926, it's a 740 square foot cottage. She bought it in 1970 after she quit her job and moved from New Jersey to be close to my mom, sister, and I. My sister and I spent Thursday nights and every other weekend with her until we were in college. Breaded pork chops, fried chicken, peas for me, and string beans for my sister. Although she died in 1996, to this day, when the azalea blooms, I can still see her standing on the porch. I loved her, but the house, not so much. Single pane windows, no insulation, not very efficient. It's the opposite of net zero. I've worked on or fixed things ever since I was young. The same skills I use maintaining our family's rental homes. I would often daydream about having a house that didn't need work or me worrying about. I wanted a new house. Thankfully, Seattle allows DADUs, Detached Accessory Dwelling Units, mother-in-laws, to be built on single-family lots. So, I decided to build a new home on my grandma's front lawn and turn my grandma's house into a DADU. I started looking on the internet and found thousands of house plans that I hated. They were a mix of bad layouts, ugly, inefficient, and expensive. Until I found the Ballard Net Zero house, designed by Ted Clifton Sr. and built by Ted Clifton Jr. I was hopeful. The owner, Eric Thomas, who is here, agreed to give my wife Stephanie and I a tour, and we knew we had found the winner. The house had a great floor plan, was built in 5 months, and cost under $125 a square foot. $75 less than a typical new home in Seattle, and considerably less than some other projects. It produced all the energy it needed over the course of the year. This was the design that my frugal grandma would love. My paternal grandfather had built homes all over Seattle, so I thought, why not build it myself? I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Home Depot 250 times, hand dip 10,000 shingles, pound 25,000 nails, and work countless unpaid hours? Me, I guess. Hindsight, I should have hired Ted Clifton. But if I did, I never would have learned what I learned by building this house, nor would I be talking to you about it. I learned to measure twice or more and dig once. I became an energy efficiency expert. I built relationships that will last a lifetime. And most importantly, I created a legacy for myself and my family. September last year, the excavator is coming, and I'm rechecking where we'll be excavating. Everything seemed fine. I'm thinking about how good the house is going to look. But why am I so much closer to the street than everyone else? I call the surveyor, and they tell me the survey stakes are not on the property line. There was a rock, and they're 8 feet away. That one detail, I could have built the house too close to the street, and then we would have had to tear it back down. Later that month, I built all the foundation forms, and the concrete truck was on its way, when I discovered that the house was 2 inches out of square. It may not sound like a lot to you, but when you're building with SIPS panels, that 2 inches looks like a mile. In desperation, I took out the straps used to hold the lumber on my truck. I tied them together, stretched them out as far as they would go, hooked them on the corners of the forms, and ratcheted the form square. It worked, and I silently thanked MacGyver. Then a problem arose that I couldn't fix. The sewer line needed to be replaced because of a dip in the pipe. A $35,000 lump dropped out of our budget and into my stomach. At that moment, I knew one way or another I'd have to start compromising. I learned so much about energy efficiency building this house. What you build out of matters. We built with structural insulated panels, SIPs, giant, as big as this screen, styrofoam blocks with plywood glued to the inside and outside. Very energy efficient, strong, and easy to put together, kind of like giant Legos. But they did require my foundation to be square. A 550-gallon cistern collects all the rainwater from our roof to water our plants and flush our toilets with forever. My favorite feature of the house is the 36 solar panels. The little panels will have the ability to supply power for both houses and pay for themselves in 4 years. But what I valued the most were the relationships I was able to create, mostly because I really needed the help. Ted Clifton Sr. of Zero Energy Plans designed our house and answered a million questions I had. Ted Clifton Jr. of TC Legend Homes helped me navigate my first taste of SIPS panels. Tony Hansen of Abode Builders, Abode, not Adobe. Tony's been my good friend since high school and is not only a fantastic builder, but has an eye for design details that show in every room of my house. Of course, Greg and Morgan at Forecast Solar rocked our solar setup, getting it up and running with little advance notice for the Green Homes Tour. And last but not least, Carlos at Gene Johnson Plumbing saved me $15,000 on my crappy sewer line. We ended up with Craigslist appliances and roofing, IKEA cabinets, but a wonderful, warm, radiant floor, free water, a solid design, and free energy. The legacy of building a house I learned from my grandfather, and I'm teaching my son, Henry, who I'd like to thank for moving 13 yards of compost in the rain. Thank you, Henry. 8 p.m. on Friday, and I'm finished. My sister Lorna and nephew Winslow showed up to help clean and bounce a super ball off my freshly painted walls. It turned out better than I ever imagined, and the way the house works is absolutely amazing. Ceilings that soar, a kitchen made for pork chops and peas, a lofted bedroom every kid would love. I could have never have known it would take so much to make this house become a reality. And now that I've built it, I can't imagine not doing it myself. Not just because it represents the ideal house of the future, but because it connected me to a fantastic community of green builders and people, like yourselves, obviously. In fact, since starting the house, I've given over 600 tours, had 7,000 views of my blog from 30 countries and counting. Building this house has helped me clarify my purpose, to live in a net zero house, and maybe even to help you build one. I know my grandma would be proud. Thank you.